Have you ever really thought about how all of our technology, well, talks to us? I mean, from the screen you're looking at right now to the sound that you're hearing, our computers are constantly sending us information. Today, we're going to look at the amazing hardware that makes it all happen. Output devices.
No, really, just think about it for a second. You're watching this and you're hearing my voice. So how is all of that digital information, just ones and zeros really, getting from some processor into your brain? Well, the answer is right in front of you. It's the screen you're watching and the speakers or headphones you're using. They're the bridge between the digital world and our world.
Okay, so let's break this down. A computer system basically has four parts. You've got your input devices, like a keyboard, a storage device, and the CPU, or central processing unit, which is kind of the brain of the whole operation. And that final piece of the puzzle, that's the output device. Its whole job is to take all that data the CPU has been crunching and serve it up to us in a way we can actually understand. So here's what we've got on tap today. First, we're going to look at our digital windows to the world, monitors. Then we'll see how we can turn those pixels into actual paper with printers. After that, we'll tune into the sound of data with speakers. And finally, we'll wrap up by seeing how all of these outputs are a huge part of our everyday lives. Sound good? Let's jump in.
Let's kick things off with the output device we probably use more than any other, the monitor. I mean, whether it's on your desk, your laptop, or right there in your pocket, a screen is our main window into the digital universe, showing us everything from text and pictures to videos.
So, how does a screen actually make an image appear out of nowhere? Well, it all comes down to this tiny fundamental building block called a pixel. You can think of a pixel as just the smallest little dot of light a monitor can possibly create. By itself, it's not much, but when you get millions of them working together, that's where the magic really happens.
You know, from far away, this picture of a bear looks totally smooth, right? But if you could zoom way in, you'd see it's not smooth at all. It's actually a giant grid of tiny colored squares. Those are the pixels. Our eyes just cleverly blend them all together to form one complete image.
And this brings us to a term you've definitely heard before: display resolution. It sounds technical, but all it really means is the total number of pixels a screen can show you. We measure it by the number of pixels going across the screen's width by the number of pixels going down its height. So resolution of 1280 by 1024 just means you've got 1280 pixels in every row and 1024 of those rows stacked on top of each other.
So why do we care so much about resolution? Well, look at this. An image with fewer pixels on the left looks all blocky and blurry. That's low resolution. But when you pack in a ton more pixels, like the image on the right, everything becomes sharp, crisp, and full of detail. The takeaway here is super simple. More pixels means a better looking picture.
Of course, monitor technology has changed a lot. Remember those big, bulky CRT monitors? Then we moved on to much lighter and thinner LCDs. And today, pretty much all new screens are LED monitors, which are the absolute thinnest and most energy efficient yet. Each step forward gave us a better, safer, and much sleeker window into our digital lives.
Okay, so we've seen how we get information on a screen. But what happens when you need a physical copy of something? That's where printers come in, taking those digital pixels and turning them into something real, something you can hold.
This brings up a really important idea in computing. Anything you see on your monitor is what we call a soft copy, because it's just digital. But the second you print it out, that document becomes a hard copy, a physical object you can file away or sign or stick on your fridge. The printer is the magical machine that makes that happen. Now, there are a ton of different printers out there, but they pretty much all fall into four main categories. We're going to do a quick tour of the dot matrix, the inkjet, the laser printer, and the thermal printer.
First up, we have the dot matrix printer. These things are totally old school. They work by physically smacking these little pins against an ink ribbon, which is why they make that classic, super loud printing sound. But their big trick is that the impact can create carbon copies, which is why you still see them used for things like invoices and receipts.
Next up is the inkjet printer. This is probably the one you have at home. It works by spraying these microscopic dots of ink onto the paper. They're nice and quiet and can produce beautiful, high-quality color images, which makes them perfect for photos. The only catch? Those replacement ink cartridges can get a little pricey. Now, for offices that have to print stacks and stacks of documents, the laser printer is king. Instead of liquid ink, it uses this really fine powder called toner that gets melted onto the paper with heat. They are crazy fast, super quiet, and produce incredibly sharp text. They're the perfect workhorse for any busy workplace.
And our last one is the thermoprinter. This one's really cool. It doesn't use any ink at all. Instead, it prints on special heat-sensitive paper that turns black when it gets hot. This makes them really fast and cheap to run, which is exactly why almost every single receipt you get from a store is printed on one.
So when it comes down to it, choosing a printer is all about trade-offs. If you want amazing quality for photos, you'll probably go with an inkjet. If you need speed and you're printing a ton for an office, laser's the way to go. And for cheap, fast receipts, nothing can beat a thermoprinter. Each one is built for a different job.
All right, so we've covered output devices for our eyes and for making things we can touch. Let's move on to our ears. Our last category is all about how we turn electrical signals from a computer into the sounds we hear all around us.
Speakers are the classic audio output device, right? They take an electrical signal and use it to create vibrations, and those vibrations create the sound waves that travel to our ears. They're absolutely essential for listening to music, watching videos, or even just hearing system alerts. And they can be anything from a small pair on your desk to a massive home theater system.
And of course, speakers aren't just big boxes on our desks anymore. They've gotten a lot more personal. Earphones, headsets, wireless earbuds, they're all basically the same technology, just shrunk down into these tiny private speakers that let us take our sound with us wherever we go.
So let's pull all of this together. For our last section, let's look at how all these different output devices have started to merge and become a seamless part of our daily lives and the tech we use.
And honestly, there's no better example of this than the smartphone. It really is the ultimate output device, isn't it? You've got a super high-resolution screen for your visual output, a built-in speaker, and of course, it connects to your personal audio. It's an incredible monitor, and a super versatile speaker system that fits right in your pocket.
So from the screen you're watching, to the paper in your printer, to the sound in your ears, output devices are that vital bridge between us and our technology. They're the translators that turn the language of computers into the language of our senses. Which of course leaves one last really exciting question. What's next? What new, amazing ways will our devices find to communicate with us in the future?